What's up, everybody? Welcome in on this Thursday night to the podcast. My name is Michael Borky. Always glad. I need to make a quick adjustment of my screen here. That's okay. I can do that while I'm talking. I'm so glad that you guys are with me. I'll tell you what's going on with my screen here in a second. So I got a green screen, and check out what this should have been, right? This is what it should have been with an actual green screen behind it. But the green screen is too small. And so you can see the corners and all that. So I had a background made. Look at how cool this is. But alas, I have got to get a bigger green screen. So there we go. Welcome in. I'm so glad that you guys are here on this Thursday edition of the podcast. We are obviously talking about Trinidad. Now, this is a day that is not surprising. The NCAA denying his waiver, despite the reaction online that it got, because people just don't pay attention. They are on their phones literally all day long, and they don't pay attention to what is happening in front of them, even though they see it every day. That shouldn't surprise you. The court case next week is really where this is going to be decided. Whether or not you agree with that being the system doesn't matter, because that is presently the system until the people in charge actually act like they are in charge. And at the moment, they are not. They're still begging Congress to save them. You've heard my thoughts on that before. But we'll talk about it. We'll read Ole Miss's statement. And then Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, filed in court against a member institution. Not Ole Miss, it was Alabama. But I've got some questions about that as well. So we'll go through all that on this edition of the show. Again, my name is Michael Borky. I'm so glad that you guys are here. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Just search Rebel Report and subscribe and leave a rating and a review if you like what you hear. Again, wherever you get your podcast, just search Rebel Report. You will find that. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Also, this edition is brought to you by Logan Smith Shelter Insurance. Home, auto, life, business. If you need any of those and you are anywhere in Mississippi, home, auto, life, or business, Logan Smith at Shelter Insurance will take care of you anywhere in Mississippi. His services are award-winning. Give him a call. You will find out why. 601-823-3500. 601-823-3500. Tell him that I sent you. And even if you have auto insurance or life insurance or whatever, it's worth making the phone call. You'll be impressed. I promise you will. Check them out. Logan Smith, Shelter Insurance, bringing you today's show. So no surprise to anybody. I'm sure you've already heard and engaged with conversation about the fact that the NCAA, unsurprisingly, has denied Trinidad Chambliss his attempt at a waiver. And there's a couple of things that come with that. Number one, I have been asked a lot, is the NCAA singling out Ole Miss? Or why does it feel like the NCAA is only responding to Ole Miss in the way that they did? What I would say to that is it probably feels that way, in part because this is the one you're reading about and hearing about the most. They've gone the same way with Aguilar at Tennessee, with Bediako at Alabama. Ohio's quarterback got denied as well. Selective enforcement is a real problem with the NCAA. In fact, people use that in court against them, that they have these arbitrary rules that they selectively apply on a case-by-case basis without any consistent backing behind their decisions, and that's used against them. So I'm not saying that there's not players that have gotten waivers that probably shouldn't have. The NCAA opened up this entire can of worms by opening up waivers to begin with. The second they started granting waivers is when this became a problem, when they started getting sued and why they keep losing in part. They opened this up on their own by creating a system where there are arbitrary rules that they enforce and follow closely here, but not here. And that they've created the mess that they are currently in to begin with. But you think, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm off base. You're free to disagree with me always. I hope that you know that I'm not some kind of authority on all matters, right? But in this case, I think you're only really just reading the NCAA stuff like more closely with Ole Miss because they are going this hard at others as well. And they kind of have to, right? They have to dig their heels in, even if it's an inevitability that they're going to lose in court, or at least it seems like it, or even if they are arbitrarily applying their rules in one case versus another differently. They have to try to fight stuff like this for as long as possible because they have to create the illusion that they are powerless. If you listen to me at all on the radio show or on here, you know that I have talked a lot about how the conference commissioners and the NCAA not only could have seen this coming and gotten out ahead of it, but there are pathways for them to get control of this, and they choose not to do that. They want to buy, or they want you to buy into the illusion that these are still student athletes. And I can't wait to read what Greg Sankey wrote to the Tuscaloosa County Court here in a second. The illusion that it's still the way it was, or trying to continue to talk about college sports as if the last 6 years have not happened and haven't changed everything. So the NCAA has to continue to fight this to show that, hey, we have no power. We've tried to enforce our rules, and these mean old judges in these local districts have stopped us from doing that. Please, Congress, save me. That's what they are doing here. They could attempt to collectively bargain. They could attempt to actually have rules. They could have gone to the 5 to play 5 thing and gotten rid of the waiver. They could have done or tried these things, but instead they're continuing to operate as is, which is at best an inconsistent and relatively incompetent organization. They have to create the illusion that they are powerless, and Congress needs to grant them power again. It is disheartening to me as a fan of college football and college sports. I grew up on college sports. I didn't really fall in love with the NFL until later in life, until my adult life. My whole childhood was college sports and college football. That's really what inspired me to want to do what I do for a living. So I love it, and it is changing and it is different, but it is disheartening to me to see the people in charge of college football lobbying still years later Congress for help. Greg Sankey does it too. Not to get political, but there are individual people that hold positions of elected leadership that are competent, that try hard, that want to do the right thing. Congress as a body is at best grossly incompetent, a group of people that cannot do their actual jobs well, like the things that they are supposed to govern. They don't do those well at all. They fail at every level, at every turn, at best. And at worst, they're grossly corrupt. So they're either grossly incompetent or grossly corrupt, and it's probably just a combination of the two. So it pains me to see them, and Tennessee did it in response to the Aguilar thing, to lobby, please, Congress, save us. We have to, we're powerless. We can't do anything. These judges, please, Congress, save me, instead of them stepping up and leading and doing what's necessary and being bold and being strong. Instead, they look so incredibly weak all the time, and it's just very disheartening to me. But that's the strategy they've chosen. And so they have to fight things like this for as long as they can. What is interesting to me, there's two things that are interesting to me in this. Number one, you've got the statement in return from Ole Miss. You guys have probably seen it. I'll read it for you just in case you have not. Quote, the NCAA Athletics Eligibility Subcommittee's decision to deny Trinidad's appeal is indefensible in light of the undisputed facts. The NCAA staff and the subcommittee asserted that Trinidad was not denied the opportunity to compete during the 2022 season, despite the reality that he did not dress for a single game while suffering from severe incapacitating medical conditions. Those conditions were fully and contemporaneous. I'm such a moron. Documented bias treating physician. I get that word wrong every time. I've gotten it wrong 6 times on the radio show. The audience makes fun of me. I even have written it out the way it needs to be read, and I'm just, my brain blocks it. Documented bias treating physician, yet this waiver request was still denied when it should have been approved at the NCAA staff level. Trinidad's representatives will continue to pursue all available legal remedies, and we will publicly stand behind Trinidad while holding the NCAA accountable for a decision that fails to align with its own rules, precedent, and the documented medical record. So that is a very strong statement. And what that tells me, that confirms a couple of things to me. There's been a rumor. I have not been able to fully verify it, but there has been a rumor beyond what Tom Mars said, that they have the NCAA on record saying that they have enough. But there's been a rumor that during this last process that Ole Miss was led to believe that they have done enough to satisfy the requirements to get a waiver, and yet they were still denied. I think that's where the frustration is coming from. The NCAA has dragged their feet on this. This injunction thing could have, all of this could have been done a long time ago, but the NCAA dragged their feet. They led Ole Miss to believe that they had enough, whether or not, because I know state fans and LSU fans jump into this sometimes, and that's fine. I appreciate the views, especially the podcast downloads. Thank you guys for those. That's really what I'm searching for here. But the Ole Miss was led to believe that they had enough to satisfy the waiver. This could have been done a long time ago. Not only for the sake of the student athlete, who, by the way, could be preparing for the draft had they known that he was going to get denied this whole time. That's how you can go to court and prove damages, is that because the NCAA has acted in what appears to be bad faith, at least that's what they will argue in court anyway. The NCAA has acted against the signed documentation from a physician, despite their rules saying that they have to consider that. The NCAA applying Division I standards, FBS standards, to Division II when they have different standards for which they have to report medical issues. All of that's going to go to court next week and likely lose. But that is something that all of that has happened over the last couple of weeks. And whether or not you think that the argument that he was sick and incapacitated to the point where he couldn't play, it is, I think, when you look at the documented objective fact that the NCAA is not exactly operating in the best pure faith when they are fighting against Ole Miss in this. Does that mean anything when it comes to next week? I've talked to a couple of lawyer friends. One in particular thinks that none of it matters, that Trinidad's just going to win next week, regardless of how the NCAA has operated. But another one told me, earlier today, that there is so much in the process that any judge, even an objective judge in a different state, would look at the case and think, hold on, you have different standards for reporting on these things for Division II and Division I. You're applying the Division I standard to a Division II player. That doesn't make sense. And also, you have, in your process, ignored the writing of a physician that saw him at the time confirming what the player is arguing, and you are tossing that aside. That doesn't make sense either. If a doctor is telling you that he couldn't play because of a medical situation, you throwing that out because you don't feel like it is problematic when arguing in court. There's a lot of things that the NCAA has done that have not really helped their case next week. Maybe it's helped from a PR perspective, because you have people that, you look at the arguments, but the fan podcasts and stuff that are Oh, he just had a cold. That's all that is. Oh, he dressed out in every game. Well, no, he didn't. Oh, there's no documentation that he was sick. Yes, there is. You have a physician and a coach, both on the record, filed to the NCAA. Yes, that did happen. He certainly was sick. That was a factor in why he didn't play. He did not dress for a single game, and on and on. So the NCAA, in the way that they have fought this, have at least curried some favor in public sentiment, which I think is also part of their goal here. But when you look at the process, when you look at what has been communicated to Ole Miss, when you look at how they have dragged their feet on this, especially when they have dragged their feet on this, it's taken them so long that the Senior Bowl has passed, the Shrine Game has passed. So if he was not going to be allowed to play college football anymore, the NCAA did not let him know until after the All-Star games, which are huge, huge for draft status. And there's no way that you can, in good faith, think that they operated cleanly and fairly while dragging that out until after those games and think that the Trinidad side won't be able to argue bad faith, damages, also the poor application of their rules or the inconsistent application of their rules. Tom Mars has laid out a lot of their arguments on Twitter already. So it's not a surprising deal. The NCAA has to kind of fight these, at least in the public eye, to curry some favor in return. People treating Trinidad Chambliss as if he's a guy that's looking for an 8th season and not a guy that's looking for his 3rd is there's a lot of just disingenuous discussion out there about this case in particular. Nobody's willing to actually read about it. Nobody's actually willing to look into what the doctor has said about it, what his issues were, what the deal was at Fair State, how long he's actually played college football. This is not – I don't think that this is the case that is going to destroy college sports the way some people are framing it when you look at it compared to some others. But even still, the reaction to the NCAA's denying this waiver was also just it's bizarre. You have people that presumably consume college sports content every day because hyperactive on Twitter and even some people that are new media now have watched how Pavia got to play this season and finish second in the Heisman, how all of this has been able to happen, and the NCAA denies it, and the reaction is, ha, 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 he can't play at Ole Miss next year. When you know that they're filing this in state court and they have an injunction hearing that seems like he's very likely going to win. So the overreaction yesterday was a little bizarre when, I mean, thank God for people like Andy Staples. Thank not the sports gods, and not thank God for sports conversation, but thank the sports gods for Andy Staples. I think the big man upstairs is a little bit more concerned with other things than what the sports discourse is. But a guy like Andy Staples at least is willing to read and contextualize how all of this actually works, as opposed to whatever the hell you saw reaction last night. It was bizarre. It was simply bizarre. But the next layer to this, and this is something that is so absolutely fascinating to me, and this is where a lot of what I just said is rehashing. Forgive me for that. But this is where I've got a lot of questions. As you guys know, Alabama has a basketball player that played at Alabama, left Alabama, signed 3 different professional contracts, never got to the NBA, but did sign 3 different G League contracts. And a judge allowed him to come back to Alabama and play. Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, filed a affidavit in defense of the NCAA in Tuscaloosa County against Alabama. I'm going to read just a couple of passages from this defense to you because part of me wonders if there is an application to the Trinidad case here. He says, NCAA bylaw 12.6, seasons of competition 5-year rule provides that a student athlete shall not engage in more than 4 seasons of intercollegiate competition in any one sport, and bylaw 12.6.1 affords student athletes 5 calendar years to complete those seasons. These longstanding rules are grounded in the principle that that athletics are an integral part of the academic experience. Oh, gosh. The rules align the time permitted for college athletics with the pursuit of an undergraduate education and further the important purpose of preserving opportunities for future student athletes to participate in college sports. Oh, man. He writes this on the day it gets announced that his league distributed over $1 billion to the schools for athletics, and he wants to talk about undergraduate degrees. But he's talking about eligibility, the 4-to-play-5 rule, integral in college athletics, preserving opportunities for future student athletes. That's parroting NCAA talking points, and that is something that we will circle back to. Here's the other part. To maintain eligibility to participate in college athletics, NCAA bylaw 12.2.4 provides that a student athlete, quote, shall not enter into any kind of agreement to compete in professional athletics, either orally or in writing, regardless of the legal enforceability of that agreement. This rule, too, is grounded in the principle that college athletics are reserved for current college athletes who actively are pursuing a degree while also participating in college sports, and for future college athletes who seek benefit from the unique educational, athletic, and leadership opportunities provided through college sports. The rule also promotes competitive fairness in the context of college athletics. It recognizes, for example, that an athlete who has chosen to pursue a professional sports career, whether domestically or internationally, will have benefited from the structure of professional sports, which permits athletes to focus solely on sports development and competition, stepping away from the educational requirements of college sports and engaging the opportunity to mature in a new environment with the benefit of dedicated athletic resources. Changes to these rules open the door to undermining these fundamental principles. Permitting former professional athletes to return to competition creates a competitive disadvantage and fundamental unfairness for student athletes who have not pursued a professional sports career, but instead have maintained their commitment to the college athletics model, blah, 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 blah. All right. A couple of things on that. Number one, I understand the circumstances are different. I understand that Charles Bediako is a more unique case than some of the others around the country. But you have other players in college sports, specifically basketball, in the SEC, who were previously professionals that are currently playing college basketball. Now, they're from foreign countries. They don't really have the college system there. If you're good enough, you just go pro. I understand it's different than going from Alabama to G League back to Alabama. I understand that it's different. But if you think that bringing in professionals undermines the intercollegiate athletic model, where were you when all of the other guys got to campus after being professionals? Where were you then? I understand that this case is different, but you have former pros who signed pro contracts who have played professional sports that you are arguing in a Tuscaloosa County court is such a problem and so bad for college sports. Why did you wait until now? Why didn't you stop the other ones? And so that speaks to selective enforcement or a selective application of the standards and the model of collegiate athletics. You have other schools in your league playing former pros, and yes, Ole Miss is one of them. Ole Miss is one of them with Comerdine. He's a former professional basketball player. He's now getting paid a lot of money to play college basketball, but he is a college athlete now. Mississippi State has one. The SEC's filled with them. Former pros that now play college basketball. Why now are you going against your own school for adding a former pro? What makes it different? Because he started college, but you are arguing that after you enter the professional league, it changes development. It's against the model. This speaks to the entire issue with the NCAA model that's cost them so much in court and otherwise: selective enforcement, selective outrage, selective whatever. And then the other part, there's actually three parts, but the second part is, does this mean now that Greg Sankey is also going to argue against his member schools in eligibility cases? Because he made reference in here at how important it is. Here's the quote about the 5-year rule. These long-standing rules are grounded in the principle that athletics are an integral part of the academic experience. The rules align with the time permitted for college athletics with the pursuit of an undergraduate education and further the important purpose of preserving opportunities for futures. That's what he's arguing. He's arguing that players getting more years to play is a problem, is bad ultimately for college sports, which, sidebar, morally, he's right. He's right. Charles Bediako should not be allowed to play college basketball. He became a pro. He's right about that. Absolutely, he's right. I also generally think that judges in various states should not be the ones deciding who gets to play and who doesn't. That to me is a flawed system. That doesn't happen anywhere else in sports except for college sports, not at the professional level, the real professional level. Judges aren't deciding who gets to play and who doesn't. My issue is, it is people like Greg Sankey's fault that we're in the situation that allows judges to decide whether or not a player gets to play or not. It is the NCAA and the commissioner's fault for not doing what is necessary to put a stop to this. Instead, spending years lobbying Congress unsuccessfully. It is their fault that this has happened. But regardless, morally, he's right. He is. But now I wonder, in this, is he going to defend the NCAA against Trinidad? Are you going to get a filing from the commissioner of the SEC in the Knox County Court against Tennessee's quarterback? Are you going to get an argument against the Trinidad Chambliss suit in the Calhoun County Court in favor of the NCAA from the commissioner of the SEC? And if he is so willing to argue against Alabama because of a higher moral purpose to protect college sports and preserve the integrity of college sports, who's to say, or it's fair to wonder anyway, if behind the scenes you're getting a commissioner that's fighting for you against the tampering stuff in Clemson? It's fair to wonder, because his goal, his stated goal in this letter, is to preserve college athletics. That's his stated goal, to preserve college athletics. That's what he's trying to do here. And he's so willing to preserve the model of college athletics and protect its integrity, he's willing to go against one of his member schools in order to do that. It's a great moral stance. It is. However, is any other commissioner arguing against his own league in these court cases? Is anybody else doing that, or is it just you that is cuddling up with the NCAA trying to preserve college sports? Because if it's just you, you've got a problem. And by you, I mean the schools within the SEC. You've got a problem. Because if every other commissioner is fighting on behalf of just their members and not for the greater good, you've got a problem at the top. You're already losing grip in football. You already got stuffed into a locker on the 9-game conference schedule paired with not getting the playoff that you want. You've gotten stuffed in a locker when it comes to Notre Dame getting preferential treatment with the college football playoff. You really have struck out lately when it comes to swinging your sword the right way and being the most powerful league in college sports. Because right now, I'm going to keep using the phrase, you keep getting stuffed into a locker. You keep losing. And so now, as you're losing, as you're giving Notre Dame preferential treatment and going to 9 conference games, but not getting the expanded playoff that you want, as you're losing on the football field, as all of this is going on, you're arguing on behalf of the NCAA against one of your schools. No other commissioner is doing that publicly. What's the conversation behind the scenes with the tampering situation with Clemson? Is your commissioner going to bat for you, or is he defending the greater good of college sports, which would be to eliminate tampering? That's what's best ultimately for college sports, is to get rid of tampering altogether. That's what's best. But is the commissioner of the ACC stopping Miami from getting Duke's quarterback? Is that happening? Jim Phillips, right? Yes, Jim Phillips. Do you think Jim Phillips is publicly, right now, stopping Miami or trying to stop Miami from getting Mensa? Did he get involved in that legal situation to stop Miami from getting Mensa? No. Miami broke rules to get him, though. They clearly tampered like mad to get him. Of course they did. That's what you're supposed to do. But that didn't go down. Are you confident that your AD is going to go to bat for you against other schools or the Big Ten or the ACC or one of the schools from the Big Ten or the ACC? Are you sure that you're going to get somebody that is doing what's best for you, which is ultimately their job? I appreciate and respect somebody taking a moral stance. I do. It'd be great if everybody did that, but everybody's not doing that. And so you're already in a position of more weakness than you've ever been in. Is it about to get worse? Is it? I would love to know that answer. I'm fascinated to see if the Aguilar situation or the Trinidad situation also gets intervened for the greater good from the commissioner of the league. I mean, again, I agree with him. Bediako shouldn't be playing. But is any other commissioner doing this? Until they do, you got to get behind your schools, not try to cut their legs out from underneath them. And look, I'm sure he's heard from the rest of the SEC about this. Maybe all these other coaches don't have told the commissioner to fight against this. I would be deeply concerned if I were in charge of an athletic department around the SEC right now. I would be concerned because of everything I just laid out. It's not just this one thing. It's the league is losing its grip. You're losing out on these things. And now this, I would be worried that my commissioner actually doesn't have what's best for me in mind. But I don't know. Maybe I'm not thinking straight. As you guys can probably tell, I'm exhausted. Been a long week around here. You guys probably seen the news. So been pretty nuts here. But anyway, I almost just said Sports Talk Mississippi is brought to you in part by, that's where my head is right now, Sports Talk Mississippi. The Rebel Report is brought to you in part by Priority One Bank, to make you their priority every single day with their online banking platform. It's a one-stop shop. All you need is an internet connection. You can do whatever it is that you need to do with your money, because that's what they do at Priority One Bank. They make you their priority. Also, Advantage Business Systems, absms.com. Advantage Business Systems has you covered for all of your Mississippi office technology needs. Tell them I sent you. You'll get that complimentary office technology assessment. All right. Is anyone surprised? No, they should not be. How do we see that the state of your curtain? Oh, see the state of your curtain if you ran with the green screen. Yeah, it's funny. So it's supposed to be one that straps to the back of your chair, and it was like leaning backwards. It was awful. It was an Amazon buy. It was horrible. Do we know if the NCAA has actually won any of these court cases? Their record in federal court in eligibility cases, pretty good. But those are mostly cases that have just argued, give us an extra year because, and not something like this where they have, documented issue, different reporting, that kind of stuff. Locally, their record is horrid in cases like this. It's kind of messed up that any other school can let players play for 6, 7, or 8 years and not in school. But the moment Ole Miss tries to get a player for one extra year, they can't wait because of Lane. Well, I think the NCAA would have fought this regardless of what Lane did or did not do. Was there ever any doubt that the NCAA would hold Ole Miss to a different standard? I do think, you've got this happening in other places too, though. It's not just Ole Miss. Congress is more interested in getting on Fox News and CNN than doing anything other than the betterment of the country. Exactly. I mean, that's what frustrates me so bad. And that 2 years ago at Media Days, I asked Greg Sankey about it, and his answer was basically, it was just like because we can't do anything else or something like that. It's like we all see. It's not even a political statement. It's not even picking a side. We all see how totally inept the whole body of Congress is at actually doing what they're supposed to do. And we think those people are going to take on college sports and they're going to do it the right way. Those people are going to get together and they're going to write a bill that is good for college sports. We really think that's going to happen. Believe Sankey's throwing a wrench into everything. We'll see. I mean, so far it's only one, right? In the Bediako things, it's a pretty agreeable thing to argue against, right? Everybody agrees that Bediako should not be playing anymore. So that is that's ultimately fine that he takes that stance. It is fascinating that the commissioner of the SEC is actively arguing against one of his own schools. That is certainly fascinating. But my question is, do you have faith that this isn't going to happen anywhere else? Because I don't. 99% of the people ranting and raving that Chambliss shouldn't be allowed to play are LSU fans, State fans, and Clemson fans. There's a lot of that. The Alabama judge wasn't just a graduate, but a booster to boot. Yeah, he's recused himself now. Would be funny if the Bama player is eligible for the remainder of the season. I think that's most likely to happen, don't you? Austin with the super chat. Thank you, man. Really, really, really appreciate you. You're the best, man. If I'm an SEC president and I want to get North Carolina or Virginia, I'd be worried about Greg Sankey. He has so much power and refuses to use it. Sankey was Thank you, by the way, Austin. Really appreciate you. Sankey was arguing on behalf of the NCAA, not the SEC, so he would be expected to point out teams and alleged violations in other conferences more than his own. He needs to go. The SEC is losing its dominance under him. His time has passed. Tell me what you think about this. For the next TV deal, the SEC gets one game on Amazon. Do you like it? I wouldn't bother me at all. But I use Amazon like every day, so. We love you too. Thank you, man. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I would not mind Amazon. A one game package on Amazon. That wouldn't bother me. Only because I think Amazon's so widely used at this point. Most people don't have to go get a subscription to get the game. But we're so far away from the SEC having an additional television deal that it's a long way away. What do you feel about the Super Bowl? I'm going to watch. Now I'm kind of rooting for Ben Brown after we got to visit with him. But should we go live after the Super Bowl? I don't think we will. I think we might take Sunday off, guys. I think that's, unless something changes, I think we might take Sunday off just to, enjoy the night. I don't think anything crazy is going to be happening between now and then. Also, Mike Bianco's media day going to be on Tuesday, for the record. So there you go. But I got to run, guys. I don't know if I've lost. I have no energy. I am zapped. I know that's not an excuse. I need to be locked in always, but I am zapped tonight. So I hope what I said made sense to you. I hope so. And that's just kind of where I, quote unquote, stand on these things. I mean, the expectation is he'll get that injunction. The hearing's next week. He may not get it next week. Maybe he does. I don't know. But I do expect when the ruling is handed down that he will be Ole Miss's quarterback in 2026. I think the NCAA is trying to win in public relations more than they're actually trying to stop Trinidad from playing quarterback in 2026. So I appreciate you guys. I will see you on Tuesday. I'll bring you something between now and then. That's a long time between now and then, but we won't go live Sunday. It's Super Bowl Sunday. I'll see you guys live on Tuesday, but I'll bring you something between now and then. You guys have a good night. I'll see you then.